A$AP Rocky was this close to losing everything. A shooting, a trial, and a witness who changed everything. But what if I told you the case was way worse than anyone realized? Back to 2021, the year A$AP Rocky, one of the biggest names in the rap game, was living a life many could only dream of. The fame, the fortune, the collaborations with top artists, and of course, his highly publicized relationship with none other than Rihanna. Everything seemed to be going perfectly until the events of one summer night in Hollywood sent his life into a downward spiral.
Welcome back. The trial for hip-hop star A$AP Rocky is what's trending in true crime this morning. Opening statements kick off today.
It all started with a confrontation. A$AP Rocky, who was known for his bold personality and unfiltered behavior, found himself in a heated argument with his former friend and associate, A$AP Rocky. The two had a history, but it was about to take a dark turn. On the night of November 6, 2021, Rocky was allegedly involved in a shooting incident. According to reports, A$AP Rocky and Relly had a falling out, and things escalated when Relly claimed that Rocky fired a gun in his direction. It wasn't just any random encounter. Relly accused Rocky of intentionally shooting at him during an argument. The incident took place in Hollywood, a city known for its glitz and glamour. But this time, the spotlight wasn't on music or fashion. It was on a crime scene. Now let's pause for a second and think about this. A$AP Rocky, the global superstar, being accused of firing a gun. The implications of that were massive. The media lashed onto the story immediately and rumors started swirling. Was he guilty? Was it self-defense? Was it just an unfortunate misunderstanding? As you can imagine, the aftermath wasn't pretty. The Los Angeles Police Department wasted no time in launching an investigation, and A$AP Rocky was soon facing serious charges. The rapper was arrested in April 2022 when he was about to board a private jet with Rihanna in Los Angeles. He was taken into custody under suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon. The whole situation seemed to be spiraling out of control. And here's the kicker. The stakes were higher than ever. A$AP Rocky wasn't just fighting legal battles, he was fighting for his career, his freedom, and his reputation. If convicted, he could be facing years in prison. The charges alone were enough to send shockwaves through the entertainment world. But wait, there's more. The details of the case didn't stop there. Relly, the alleged victim, had his own side of the story, and as the investigation unfolded, his statements became crucial. Relly claimed that he was in a car with friends when Rocky confronted him, the argument escalating quickly. According to Relly's version of events, Rocky then pulled out a gun and fired at him.
It kind of looked like a movie. The whole thing looked like a movie, so he kind of like pointed down and shot, the first shot.
Narrowly missing him, but hitting a nearby vehicle instead. The shooting, he claimed, was not in self-defense. It was an act of aggression. The authorities were left with the job of piecing together what had actually happened that night. Witness statements, forensic evidence, and a whole lot of legal maneuvering had to be carefully examined to determine the truth. And as all of this unfolded, A$AP Rocky's name was at the center of a criminal investigation that threatened to change his life forever. So now you're probably wondering, how did this all play out? Did A$AP Rocky do it? Was he really the aggressor? Or was it just another case of a Hollywood story gone wrong? Well, buckle up, because the trial was just about to begin, and it was going to get even more intense. Now, after months of speculation, media frenzy, and mounting tension, A$AP Rocky's day in court had finally arrived. The stakes couldn't have been higher. His freedom, his career, and his entire reputation were hanging in the balance. This wasn't just any trial. It was the trial of a lifetime for one of the biggest names in the music world. And make no mistake, this wasn't going to be an easy ride for the rapper. As Rocky entered the courthouse, cameras flashed, reporters shouted, and fans stood outside hoping for a glimpse of their idol. But inside, the atmosphere was far from glamorous. The courtroom was packed with lawyers, witnesses, and spectators, all eagerly awaiting what would unfold. Everyone had a question on their mind. Would A$AP Rocky be convicted, or would he walk free? The prosecution came out swinging, painting a picture of a violent confrontation. They had Relly, the alleged victim, who was ready to testify against Rocky, he claimed that the rapper intentionally fired a gun at him during a heated argument. His statement wasn't just a few words, it was a story, one that painted A$AP Rocky as the aggressor. The prosecution also had the forensic evidence to back it up: bullet casings, testimony from bystanders who had witnessed the altercation, and a claim that a nearby car had been hit by a stray bullet. But here's where it gets tricky. A$AP Rocky's defense wasn't backing down. His legal team came prepared with a counter-narrative, a strategy that could potentially blow the prosecution's case wide open. Rocky wasn't the aggressor, they argued. Instead, he was acting in self-defense, trying to protect himself from someone who had previously shown hostility toward him. It wasn't just about what happened that night, it was about the history between A$AP Rocky and Relly. Rocky's defense painted a picture of betrayal, where Relly wasn't just a bystander, but someone who had a history of being difficult and unpredictable. They argued that the shooting could have been the result of a dangerous escalation, one that had been brewing for months. And here's the kicker. The trial was starting to get murky. Witnesses didn't always agree. Some claimed they saw Rocky fire the gun, others said they heard it but didn't see who pulled the trigger. There was a lack of clarity, and that left room for doubt. The evidence wasn't as cut and dried as it seemed. It was starting to look like the truth wasn't as black and white as the media has made it out to be. As the days passed, the tension only grew. Lawyers debated over every detail, bringing up every shred of evidence, no matter how small. The courtroom drama was thick, and every word exchanged had the potential to tip the scales one way or another. It was a battle of narratives. The prosecution had their victim, Relly, and the defense had a star rapper who was ready to fight back with everything he had. But the trial wasn't just about who fired the gun. It was also about A$AP Rocky's character. The prosecution tried to paint him as a man who was quick to anger, someone who had a history of clashes with people in his circle. They dug up past incidents, hoping to show a pattern of violent behavior. Meanwhile, Rocky's defense painted him as a man of peace, a victim of circumstances who had acted out of fear rather than malice. At this point, the courtroom was like a pressure cooker. Every word, every argument was building towards something bigger. It was clear that the outcome of this trial could have far-reaching consequences. For Rocky, this wasn't just a matter of legal defense, it was a chance to reclaim his name, to prove he wasn't the villain that the media had made him out to be. But the question remained, would it be enough? Then came a moment that would change everything. Just when it seemed like the case could go either way, the defense dropped a bombshell. They revealed new evidence that hadn't been previously disclosed. This wasn't just a minor detail, it was a game changer. The new evidence seemed to support Rocky's claim of self-defense, casting doubt on the prosecution's narrative. The courtroom was silent as the defense presented their findings, leaving everyone wondering how the jury would react. But even with this new development, the trial wasn't over. The jury still had to deliberate. They had to sift through the facts, weigh the evidence, and ultimately decide Rocky's fate. And as the trial came to an end, the pressure on everyone in that courtroom reached its peak. It was clear that this decision was going to change lives. The tension was palpable, and all eyes were on the jury as they began their deliberations. Would the jury see through the fog of uncertainty and find A$AP Rocky innocent? Or would they side with Relly's version of events? The tension was unbearable, but whatever the outcome, one thing was certain. The trial had taken everything A$AP Rocky had, and no matter what happened next, he knew that nothing would ever be the same. Well, after weeks of intense courtroom drama, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived: the verdict. You could feel the tension in the air. The courtroom was packed. Rocky was there, his legal team by his side, and even the media couldn't contain their excitement. The pressure was on. All eyes were on the jury, waiting for their decision, and let me tell you, no one saw what was coming. As the judge took his seat and called the court to order, the room went completely silent. The kind of silence that makes your heart race. This was it. The outcome would change everything for A$AP Rocky. His freedom, his future, his career, it all hung in the balance. The judge began reading the verdict one word at a time, as if savoring the moment. You could tell that every syllable had weight. The first words were crucial. "We, the jury, find the defendant." Everyone leaned in. Even the cameras paused for a second, as if they're holding their breath. This was the moment that would define it all. And then out of nowhere, the judge delivered the unexpected.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty.
Not guilty. A stunned silence filled the room. No one moved. It was like time itself had stopped. The weight of the verdict hit everyone differently. Some looked relieved, others confused. A$AP Rocky, who had been intense throughout the trial, sat there for a moment in complete disbelief. His eyes scanned the room, almost as if he needed a second to process what had just happened. Not guilty. The words echoed in the courtroom, but what did it really mean? To Rocky, it was the ultimate victory. A lifeline that pulled him back from the edge of losing everything. But to the media and the public, this decision didn't sit right. There were mixed reactions. Some cheered, others questioned. How could it be that a man with such serious charges against him was let off the hook? Was this truly justice, or had something gone wrong in the system? As the courtroom cleared, everyone rushed to discuss the shocking turn of events. Some called it a victory for Rocky, a win for justice, but others weren't so sure. They argued that the trial had been too chaotic, too unpredictable. The evidence was messy, the witnesses unreliable, and yet in the end, A$AP Rocky walked free. Now that the trial was over and A$AP Rocky had walked freely, the question on everyone's mind was, what happens next? You'd think that after such a dramatic and high-stakes case, Rocky would just bounce back like nothing happened. But trust me, it wasn't that simple. Sure, he was acquitted, but the case left scars that couldn't be erased overnight, and these scars were all over his career. First off, let's talk about the public image. A$AP Rocky had always been known for his boldness, his swag, and his untouchable vibe. He was at the top of his game, musically, socially, and in the fashion world. But when news of the shooting case hit, it was like a storm cloud hovering over him. Suddenly, people weren't just talking about his latest album or his collaborations with big brands, they were questioning his character. They were wondering, is this the same Rocky who seemed untouchable? Even though he was cleared of the charges, the fact that he had been involved in such a controversial incident was hard to shake off. People remembered, fans remembered, the media remembered, and in the world of celebrities, where your image is everything, one misstep, even one that ends with an acquittal, can have lasting effects. Let's be real, the music industry can be ruthless. Artists are constantly under the microscope, and public opinion can turn on a dime. It doesn't matter if you've got a string of hits. If you mess up, people will be talking about your mistakes, not your successes. For A$AP Rocky, the shooting incident wasn't just about one-time slip-up, it became a talking point that followed him everywhere. Magazines, blogs, and social media were buzzing with the details of the case, and even after the verdict, the spotlight didn't fade. It just shifted to a new set of questions. Here's where it gets interesting. Rocky wasn't just facing a potential career collapse because of the public's reaction. His business ventures were at risk too. You see, A$AP Rocky isn't just a rapper. He's a brand. He's a fashion icon, a trendsetter, and someone who's been heavily involved in the fashion industry, collaborating with major brands like Dior, Gucci, and others. But after the case, some of these brands had to think twice about their association with him. They didn't want to be caught up in the mess, and some even considered pulling back from their deals with him. A$AP Rocky's connection to these brands was more than just business. It was built on his image, his reputation, and his ability to stay clean and controversy-free. But after the trial, that image became a bit tarnished. Did some of those high-profile partnerships take a hit? Absolutely. And that's where the pressure really started to build. When you are in the public eye like that, one wrong move can be catastrophic. Not just for your career, but for the brands that chose to align themselves with you. So while Rocky was out of the courtroom and free to go, his career was in a strange, precarious position. The question wasn't whether he could make new music, it was whether he could recover his reputation. Now let's talk about something you might not expect, the impact on his artistry. We all know A$AP Rocky as a talented artist, but what does it mean to be an artist in the middle of a storm like this? His creative process was undoubtedly affected. The pressure was on for him to prove himself again, to regain the trust of his fans, and to show that he could rise above the drama. Some fans were skeptical. They wondered, could the same Rocky had been in the news for all the wrong reasons really come back with the same magic? Could he deliver the kind of magic that made him a star in the first place? Or had the shadow of the shooting case ruined his artistic flow? It wasn't just about making music, it was about proving that he could be the same A$AP Rocky they had once admired. So the stakes were high. But here's the twist. Despite all of this pressure, A$AP Rocky had a way of making things work. In the face of adversity, he tapped into something even deeper. He went into the studio, and slowly but surely, he began crafting a comeback. But it wasn't just any comeback, it was a statement. He wasn't going to let this case define him. Instead of letting the negativity drag him down, he used it to fuel his artistry. Every verse, every line, every beat seemed to reflect his own personal journey through the chaos. The result? A reinvigorated A$AP Rocky who emerged with a new sense of purpose and determination. But still, even with this artistic resurgence, the impact of the case lingered. No matter how many new tracks he released, no matter how many new looks he debuted on The Runaway, there was always that underlying question. Could Rocky ever fully shake off the shadow of the shooting case? And what about his fans? Well, A$AP Rocky's fan base was more loyal than ever, but there were still some who couldn't fully forgive him for the controversy. They were wondering if they could continue to support someone who'd been in such a messy situation. It wasn't just a matter of music anymore, it was about the man behind the music. In a way, this case was a turning point for A$AP Rocky. It forced him to reassess his place in the industry, his role as a public figure, and what kind of legacy he wanted to leave behind. He had always been a fighter, but now more than ever, he had to fight back for his reputation and his career. And that's not something every celebrity can bounce back from. Ultimately, A$AP Rocky's career didn't crash and burn after the case. Far from it. But the road to recovery wasn't easy. It took a lot of time, hard work, and self-reflection. The impact of the case wasn't something he could just forget about. It was something he had to overcome. And while some of his fans might have been disappointed, others saw this as a chance to see a different side of him. A side that wasn't just about being a flashy rapper, but about being someone who could handle adversity and still come out on top. But in the end, the question remains, was A$AP Rocky truly able to recover from this case, or would it haunt him for the rest of his career? Keep watching to find out how this situation unfolded and where Rocky stands now. You've seen the courtroom drama, the media chaos, and the intense scrutiny around A$AP Rocky. But one person who has been quietly working behind the scenes, playing a major role in how this all played out, Rihanna. At the time, Rihanna had a lot on her plate. She was pregnant, running multiple businesses, and balancing her career. Yet she still found time to stand by Rocky in one of the most stressful moments of his life. But she wasn't just offering emotional support, she was actively shaping the way he handled the situation. While the media and the public were quick to judge, Rihanna remained firm in her belief that Rocky was innocent. She used her influence strategically, not making a spectacle, but ensuring that people in the industry, including brands, media outlets, and key figures, didn't turn their backs on him. She helped Rocky manage the overwhelming pressure, guiding him on what to say, how to react, and how to protect his career in the long run. Beyond the public eye, Rihanna was a stabilizing force. A$AP Rocky was under immense stress, knowing that his career and reputation were on the line, but Rihanna reminded him that this wasn't the end, that he had a future beyond this case, and that they would get through it together. Her impact went beyond moral support. She helped him think strategically about his next moves. She understood that even after the legal battle ended, there would still be challenges, public perception, career opportunities, and brand relationships to rebuild, and she made sure Rocky was ready for all of it. When the case finally came to an end, Rihanna was there, not just as a partner, but as the force that had helped him stay strong through it all. Without her, things could have turned out very differently for A$AP Rocky. She wasn't just standing by him, she was helping him navigate one of the toughest moments of his life and come out stronger. So after everything, what's next for A$AP Rocky? Could he bounce back, or will this case leave a permanent mark on his career? First off, Rocky isn't just a rapper. He's a brand. He's got deep roots in music, fashion, and culture. But after this case, he's walking a fine line. Some fans stayed loyal, while others questioned his actions. His next moves will determine whether he regains his status or fades into controversy. One major factor, Rihanna. The relationship isn't just personal, it's a power move. Together, they could launch major projects, whether in music, fashion, or business. If Rocky played his cards right, he could turn this moment into a comeback. Music-wise, his next album is crucial. It's his chance to prove he's still at the top. The world will be watching. Does he still have the same fire, the same influence, or has the controversy changed everything? Beyond music, fashion is Rocky's safety net. His influence in the industry is strong, and if the music world turns on him, he could shift even deeper into that space. But one misstep could make or break his reputation for good. The big question, will this case be his downfall or his biggest comeback? The answer lies in what he does next. The world is watching.